In this video, we are going to get into some of the key differences, 5 differences specifically, between the Enneagram Type 2, known as the helper, the giver, the caretaker, and the Enneagram Type 6, known as the loyalist, the troubleshooter, sometimes known as the skeptic. Now, I don't know when you're listening to this because I know the nature of YouTube, it will be there forever and ever. But at the time of this recording, we are heading into the holidays. And so I'm going to make a shameless plug for the updated mug line that I now have over at enneagramMBA.com/gifts. Each type has a mug that is dedicated to all the amazing superpowers and gifts and talents and strengths of their type. And then on the back, there is a fun saying, which I don't know if you can see as well with this light here. You can check all of those out, like I said, at enneagramMBA.com/gifts. So fun for the holidays, maybe fun for anytime, anytime giving the gift of self-awareness. There's also typing sessions that you can gift. So check that out over there. Let's get into it though today about 2 versus 6. So to start off with, I always like to kind of look at why might we be getting confused here? What might be some of the similarities that we're struggling, kind of narrowing it down and identifying with. Both of these types are pretty warm for the most part. They tend to be really warm, really friendly. They really care about their people, and both types will tend to put effort into being liked. And why they do that is a little bit different. We'll talk about that in just a second. There is a flavor of a 6, also known as a subtype, which is a self-preservation 6. They're known as kind of the warm type. So they even have more of these 2 qualities on the outside. It's what's going on the inside that we're going to take a look at. And then also the subtype, the self-preservation subtype for the type 2 can sometimes also be more confused than the other types with the type 6 because they tend to have a little bit more worry and anxiety around their relationships, just kind of life in general. They tend to be a little less trusting, less positive than the other 2 type 2s, the social and the sexual or one-on-one type. So that right there might be why there's some confusion. But at the end of the day, the thing that makes a 2 and a 6 is that core driver, that go-to strategy. And for the type 2, it's that they are striving to feel connected. They have this desire to feel loved, wanted, and appreciated. For this type 6, they are striving to feel safe and supported. They have this desire to be a part of their group, knowing that they will be taken care of, knowing that they will be okay. Anything that could cause them to feel unsafe, unsupported, they are going to run away from. Now, if it's still confusing which type you might be, we're going to get into 5 key things today to maybe you won't get an answer to right away, but start to question and get curious about. The first thing to consider is that we talked about both types really care about their people, and both types, it's important for them to be close to others. For the type 2, they tend to want to get close and intimate with the people around them so that they can kind of find out what does that person need? And then how can I give that person what they need so that they can get that value, that worthiness that they are inherently after with that type 2 energy. And then as a 6, they are looking to get close and intimate with people so that they feel safe and secure. So type 2s tend to put the focus on the other person. I want you to feel safe and supported, whereas the 6 are looking to get close so that they can feel safe and supported. Another thing to kind of consider is that 2s want others to depend on them. So they will do these acts of kindness, be there to be supportive, be the cheerleader, be the guide, be the person behind the scenes, helping, pulling all the triggers, helping, so that you can start to depend on them. Now, it's not always facetious. It's not always manipulative. It just is. And sometimes that's not necessarily the intention, but that is a tendency of a type 2 just to reflect on, to get curious about. Whereas a 6, they care more about, they're going to focus more on kind of depending on others, being warm and friendly because they depend on others' support and connection. The other thing to consider is that 2s are going to be a little bit more open, and wear their hearts on their sleeves when it comes to their emotions and feelings, which makes sense because our type 2s, along with 3s and 4s, are in that feeling center of intelligence where they tend to lead with their heart. What am I feeling? My heart knows before my mind or my body. It's kind of where that type 2 is coming from. Now, the 6, on the other hand, being in the head center of intelligence, much more guarded and thinking about how I'm feeling. As a 7, I very much relate to this. When someone asks, how am I feeling? I'm thinking, how am I thinking? How do I think I'm feeling? Rather than truly like feeling my feelings. So that will be the work of a 6. But 6 is just, we talked about one of their nicknames is called the skeptic. So it's just in their nature that they're not going to be just wide open, heart on their sleeve with most people. They're going to be a little bit more guarded. They're going to be a little bit more skeptical. Their motto tends to be like, I'll trust you when you give me a reason to trust you. There's others that are going to say, I'll trust you until you give me a reason not to trust you. But 6s want kind of have the expectation that you're going to prove your trustworthiness. But once you're in, you're in. The other thing to look at is around worry. 2s, for the most part, now we talked about that self-preservation too. It's a little bit different here, but for the other types specifically, they're not worrying about a ton. So if you asked a 2 what they worried about, they might take a few seconds to give you an answer. It might be, they might have to kind of stumble through and think about some things. And then when they do, not always, of course, there's always worries about money and life in general, but for the most part, their worries are going to be around the people in their lives, their relationships. It's going to be more focused on that when there is worry. Whereas a 6, if you ask, what are you worried about? They have the reputation for anxiety being their middle name. They're probably going to list off a long list of all kinds of things that they're worried about. In addition to just relationships and the people in their life, there's all kinds of things for a 6 to kind of mull over and worry about. And part of that is being in that head center, constantly thinking and thinking and thinking about thinking. And then the last thing to consider, and I say this on all my this or that videos, and because I hear it time and time again from my typing session clients, from people who have continued to learn about their type, just how beneficial understanding their stress type was into clarifying their type and then better understanding themselves and their type. So for the type 2, their stress arrow goes to the type 8. So after they have exhausted all of their defense mechanisms and coping strategies, they're going to make a lateral shift over into the stress coping strategies and defense mechanisms of a type 8. And when they're not necessarily going to become a type 8, but they're going to bring in that type 8 energy into their stress. And what that looks like is getting really angry, really loud, potentially, controlling, frustrated. I hear from a lot of 2s that they will kind of laugh in the moment that they very much have a highway to 8. So they're this warm, friendly person, but in a moment of stress or faced with a difficult challenge, whatever it might be, they kind of quickly move into that big, bold, domineering 8 energy. Whereas a 6, when they're under stress, after they've exhausted their defense mechanisms, coping strategies, they will make that lateral shift over to the type 3. And what that will look like for a 3 or for a 6 is that they will take on a lot of those workaholic tendencies. So to avoid the anxiety, to avoid feeling that worry, they're going to put everything into work and just work, 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 work. Also, they can get a little competitive in this space as well. Some of that competitiveness of a 3. And one thing to consider here is just looking at, it's competitive because I'm trying to find my place. I want to be safe and secure. And so, looking at how do I rank? Where do I fit? Am I truly safe and secure? And I want to be, so I'll get there. And in times of stress, it's done in maybe not the most healthy, beneficial ways for themselves or for those around them. So those are 5 key differences when looking at, am I a type 2 or am I a type 6? And like I said, I would encourage you to explore that stress number a little bit more if you're still kind of trying to figure out this or that. And you may want to understand, go deeper with those subtypes as well to understand, am I a self-preservation 2 or 6 that is behaving like one or the other, or is my core driver truly that of a 2 or a 6, depending on what it is for you. So thanks so much for being here. I hope you got something from that. As always, let me know in the comments below what resonated with you, what questions you still have. And if you feel like there is a friend, a coworker, someone in your life that would also benefit from this video, please share. I do have a full Enneagram guide for you to help you better understand your type really quickly in a snapshot, and then get a snapshot of all the types. So both a little self-awareness and others awareness that you can print out, keep on your desk, keep on your nightstand, wherever it is that you might want to refer to it. It's at enneagrammba.com/cheat sheet. Thanks so much for being here. I will see you soon.